Alright, buenos dias, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasó, amigos? John's Motor Garage. Welcome back to the channel. Just when you thought the dust had settled and the beef had been squashed between Yammienoob, Spite, and the Harley wannabe bros, just when you thought it was all over, they went out and rented a Harley Davidson Dyna, test rode it, and then proceeded to air on live YouTube their dismay and disappointment in the motorcycle.
Very similar. Now, this bike is legendary because of stuff like Sons of Anarchy, the crazy Instagram SoCal boys who are doing massive wheelies on them.
Shout out to John's Motor Garage. Made that response video. We see you. Keep ripping those fat woolies.
These bikes are very much put on a pedestal in the Harley community.
Yes, I mean, at this point, they're growing in popularity, right? We were talking about it before the shoot that, you know, it seems like SoCal Supermoto boys got bored of doing wheelies on those bikes. It's too easy. They had to slap on a 670-pound motorcycle to rip fat Nooners on. It's unbelievable to see what people can do with these motorcycles, honestly.
And on top of that, they did an open letter to the Harley Dyna dudes, inviting them to do a few things. And so I couldn't help but say, all right, bro, I gotta respond to that. So here's my reaction to that video. Let's jump into it. So we're gonna go over what their disappointment was with the Dyna, talk a little bit about that. There are a few points where I think they missed it just a little bit. And then ultimately I'll talk about why it is that I do love the Dyna so much and why I think that it is, rightfully so, a fairly popular motorcycle. Now, as a self-proclaimed wannabe Harley wheelie Dyna dude, bro, whatever you want to call it, I must say I'm not offended and my feelings are not hurt. In fact, Yammy actually sent me a DM via Instagram, giving me a heads up, said, yo, I got a Dyna coming, we're gonna have some videos. And truth be told, I agree with probably like 95% of what they said regarding the Dyna. I really do. I think part of the issue is, I don't know if this is from the comments that people were leaving, maybe on their Sportster videos or what, but I think part of the issue is people must have set the bar super, super high, like overhyped the Dyna, and for the wrong reasons. Apparently, Spite and Yammienoob thought the Dyna was the best handling and best performing Harley Davidson and like the best performing motorcycle, or at least that's what's touted by the Dyna riders. And so going into it with that in mind, I'm not surprised. Not surprised by the disappointment. Now, just to set the stage, if you don't know, Yammienoob's a pretty big YouTuber, 700,000+ subscriber, does lots of different videos about motorcycles. He comes from sport bikes, you know, does track days and all that, but he has ventured out. He's got a Ducati Scrambler and he also has a dirt bike, KTM. So he ventures out onto other motorcycles and has ridden different bikes. Basically, the three complaints they had with the Dyna were the handling, performance, and price point. And for the handling and performance, for a cruiser, I think it's actually just about standard, you know, cruiser grade. However, for the price point, I agree, especially now that they don't make them. People ask way too much money for these and you don't get a ton of bang for your buck. You know, you can get a much bigger V-twin motorcycle at a much lower dollar point. Is that what I'm talking about? You don't get like ABS, heated grips, cruise control, any of those nice creature comforts and amenities with the Dyna. So, you know, in that regard, I do agree. It's a premium price you're paying. Regarding their comparison, they seem to be comparing it a lot to sport bikes. I would have compared it to some of your other V-twin cruisers like the Victory, maybe the Honda VTX 1300, maybe the 1800, the Kawasaki Vulcan 1617, the Suzuki Boulevard C90T, maybe the C109R, and, you know, things like that. Maybe your Yamaha Roadstar, the V-Star 1300, the V-Star 1100. Those would have been the bikes I would compare this bike to, because I do understand the value there for a consumer coming into it. You kind of want to see, how does this bike stack up to some of the other cruisers? But there's no rules about what you compare to what, and so you could compare this to a Busa, you could compare it to whatever you want to, man. Any day, all day. Heck, I've been known to do crazy comparisons myself. So that, I don't have any complaints about. The one point where I think they missed it a little bit is Spite encouraged and urged Dyna bros to branch out, open your mind a little bit, and try other motorcycles. And truth be told, I can speak for myself and a large number of riders who I know. A lot of us actually came from other motorcycles, and we're not ignorant to the fact that you can get more performance and better handling and probably a cheaper price tag out of other motorcycles like the FC07, MT07, FC09, just to name a few. We get it. We're well aware of that. In fact, a lot of the riders, myself included, we have other bikes. I've got a DRZ and I've got a Honda Grom. Those are my two most ridden motorcycles next to the Dyna. Talk about poor handling, performance, and a an expensive price tag, the Honda Grom there, yet it's one of my favorite motorcycles. A lot of the Dyna bros actually came from dirt bikes and or sport bikes, super sports, and many of them came from proper stunt bikes and ultimately ended up on the Dyna. In fact, this is my third Dyna. The first one I bought was a 2013. Then I went to a 2017 Lowrider S, the cream of the crop Dyna. And then ultimately I landed on this, a 2000. It's 20 years old. It's an fxdx. It's carbureted. It's a 5-speed, not a 6-speed. I mean, it's a smaller engine, 88 cubic inch. So I'm actually, if you look at it that way, objectively, I'm like going backwards in time, right? As far as like all that stuff goes. And so it begs the question, totally begs the question, why then, John, if there are so many downsides, so many flaws with this Harley Davidson Dyna, including the death wobble that they didn't even mention, man. That's just giving you free ammo and free fuel to work with. The death wobble, don't get me started on the death wobble with the Dyna. But with all that being said, then why in the heck would anybody go pay a premium price tag for this motorcycle? And I, for one, the only reason I bought a Dyna to begin with is because I wanted to learn Harley wheelies. It's as simple as that. And to do a Harley wheelie, you got to have a Harley. And Dynas, there are lots of them out there. There's tons of upgrades for them. The aftermarket support is there. You can do it on a Sportster, but even the Sportster dudes will complain because you don't have as many upgrades available for the Sportster when you're getting into that kind of riding. So ultimately, that's why I got the Harley Dyna. I have my gripes and complaints with the bike for sure. I did a why I think the Dyna sucks video myself, actually. So I get it, man. I totally do. However, once I bought the bike, not only did I fall in love with the character of the bike and having fun riding it, I like the way it handles for the type of riding that I do. I love the feel of doing a wheelie on a Harley. I love the feel of learning how to drift on this thing. I love the wow factor because that bike does not look like it should be up on one wheel. It doesn't look like it should be drifting around a parking lot. That's all the stuff I dig about it. But the most simple comparison I can come up with is, look at your car dudes. You've got your classic hot rod muscle cars, right? Look at your Pontiac Trans Am Firebird, your Chevy Chevelle, the Ford, Mustang, the Camaro, all those classic muscle cars. You've got people who love those. They'll pay top dollar and they'll spend a ton of time wrenching and a ton of time working on the car. They're never going to get the performance, handling, or reliability out of those vehicles that they do if you go out and get a modern compact sports car. Am I right? I mean, there's just no denying it. You can get way more car in terms of performance and handling out of these new ones. And yet there's no question why people go with the old school ones. They dig the style, they dig the way it feels, they dig the character that the car offers, and ultimately it comes down to different strokes for different folks. Am I right? I mean, it's as simple as that. And that's the beauty of motorcycles when you look at it. It's not about convincing people to like the bike you like, or trying to convert people from Harley to metric or vice versa. It's about the fact that we have the joy of jumping on two wheels, feeling the wind in our hair, and having a blast, no matter what motorcycle we're on. So whether it be the Harley that you just love, and no matter what you dig it, or it be the Super Sport, or it be the track day bike, it really doesn't matter. It's just the fact that we get to ride on two wheels. And no doubt, Yammienoob and Spite, they totally get this. Yammy's got his Ducati that he's talking about that, is not the best handling in dirt, probably paid a little bit too much for it. Like, he gets it. They totally get it. I think the poor taste, kind of the bad taste they got with the Dyna is apparently some people like really, really hyped it up and told them this is the best handling Harley Davidson you're ever going to buy. The Sportster sucks, man, but jump on the Dyna. And truth be told, that's just not the case, man. Harleys have a totally different characteristic than any of the other motorcycles. Now, with that being said, after buying this bike and getting into the subculture, getting into the builds, kind of doing a little bit of the customizing myself on the motorcycle, I've just grown even more to love it. And so that is basically it, man. That's why I love the Harley Davidson. It's unlike the other bikes I ride. I love those bikes too, but this one I like for the way it is. And I will say, in addition to that, another analogy I came up with was, look at the dudes who are out there doing the Volkswagen Bug builds. I mean, it's a Volkswagen Beetle, right? And yet it's this totally cult following on the Volkswagen Beetle, and no matter what, they're never going to get the performance out of those, but you still have people dumping a crap ton of money into them. And it's the same with the Harleys. I mean, you got people doing everything and anything to get the most out of these Harley Davidsons, and whatever the reason may be, as long as it's not my money they're spending and they're spending their own money, I'm cool with it. But Spite and Yammy, first of all, I think it's rad that you guys finally got your hands on Harley Davidsons. I think as time goes on, you'll learn to appreciate the Harley in the context of what a Harley is. And whether or not that means it's going to be your favorite bike or not, who cares? It doesn't matter. But I do think it's rad that you're riding Harleys now and you're dipping into it. No doubt, if we were to cross paths on the street, it wouldn't be an all-out brawl. It would be a, yo, what's up, bro? Let's go for a ride. And whether it be on the track or at the lot, having fun, I'm confident we would have a good time. So there's my response to the open letter from Spite and Yammienoob. Thanks for what you did with the Harley. Keep doing it. In light of the spirit of riding, ride safe, have fun out there, you guys. And like and subscribe if you dig it. Leave a comment below. What is your favorite motorcycle and why? And we'll leave it at that. Hasta luego. Nos vemos.